Hello and welcome to Hello and welcome to the post-festival Dancing Spider Film Festival filmmaker panel. My name is Zeke Hansen. I'm the festival director. We're going to watch a brief recap of the festival, and we'll be back with live questions. If you have questions on Instagram, Facebook from the audience, feel free to ask them, and we will go from there. So thanks for coming, everybody. Well, yeah. Yeah. Film to wrap up the festival. Here we go. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves and talk about just a brief introduction for what you do, and we'll go from there.
Hi, I'm Daniel Bergeson. I am a filmmaker in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I have a production company with my dad. We're called After Hours Pictures, if you've heard of us. And I'm also in my last semester at Augustana, so that's another thing that's sort of like in my life right now. So I'm making films while I'm going to school, and that's one of the other sort of struggles we might be able to talk about today, too.
Hi, I'm Dominic Winnicky, also here from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I'm a writer, director, producer, editor, all-around filmmaker in general. I've been working quite a few years on short films, feature films. The horror genre is my area, which is kind of a little limited in this area, but we'll discuss that as well.
Oh, we can jump into that right now.
Okay.
So I guess you've traveled around for filmmaking.
Yes.
What are some of the limitations that you've found, or struggles that are different in this area than you've found in other areas?
Mostly this area, this might sound a little bit harsher, but it's to be taken seriously. I think when people think that it's a local film, they think it's cheesy and not very good. but that's not the case. There's a lot of really good filmmakers here in town that are putting out local content that are really good. So kind of become saying I'm just a filmmaker. I don't say local filmmaker anymore. And it's kind of the same thing when you say you're a local band. What's the first thing people are like? You're just a bunch of kids in the garage. You know?
What does local even
Right,
mean?
right. It's unfortunately attaching a stigma to something that shouldn't be. So, that was a little off topic.
No, I mean, I think no matter where you are from, your local, like you started out with trying to get a broader audience and
Correct.
finding that audience, whether it starts local or, you're national right away. That you got to find people who are going to be loyal to your base.
Exactly. You need support, and that does start on a local level because that's where you start. So just getting support and building that, and looking at your growth trajectory. When you basically be able to analyze what you did in your first couple and see what you did in your last one, what's improved, and growing from there. And it's nice to have feedback from the local community to see like, oh, you are growing, you are getting better, and seeing where you can go.
Neither one of you are working on your first project. You both have several under your belt. Like as a student making films, how do you draw the line for what you're working on, being a student project and just being a creative project?
So I never thought I'd be going. I wouldn't go to film school at all, and I up until recently I never really planned on it. But basically, I decided I would just start a production company with my father. We're both. He's been making films his whole life and my whole life as well, and so I basically just said I want to get an education in what I'm interested in and what I care about, but also I'm going to use that to sort of put into my creative work. And so it's when it comes to like calling something a student film, whenever you enter a film into a festival and you call it a student film, generally it seems like it has to have been made like in a film school. And so I've actually, some of my earlier films, I entered them in as student films, and they're like, this isn't a student film. You didn't make it at a film school. And so, yeah, I've had to enter my films as just like made by a non-student filmmaker. And so there's that aspect as well. And so it ends up being that I'm just a filmmaker. I'm not really, I'm always going to be a student of film, but I'd never really refer to myself as like just a student filmmaker or just a filmmaker. I'm a student and a filmmaker, I guess.
Do you ever count them differently if they were made as a homework assignment?
Yeah, so that would be a student film. Yeah, definitely. And I can't think of like I said, because I'm not a film student right now. I will be. I'm moving to Vancouver next year, actually. I got a scholarship to Vancouver Film School. It's called the Kevin Smith Scholarship.
Nice.
And so Kevin Smith's like, here, have a bunch of money, and you can come to Vancouver Film School and it's a year-long program. So I'm going to be headed there, and Haley and I are going to be headed there next year.
It's kind of funny because Kevin Smith dropped out of Vancouver Film
Right,
School.
exactly. Shh, don't tell anyone. So he's like behaving as if no one knows that.
Sure.
But he partnered back up with them and put up a big scholarship. Anyway, so that I never thought that would happen though. I was like, I'm just going to go to school and I'm going to make films. And it turned out that here I have this scholarship opportunity, and that's not something I expected though. So the only reason that happened though is because I've been making films, and I have a demo reel. And it's just something that you just keep doing whether or not you have a school to do it, I guess. You just have to do it yourself and have that community.
Right, doing it yourself is a big thing. Filmmakers come from all areas of life. I think having a focus outside of film will kind of help bring a different voice to projects. With that, I actually did go to film school, but it was more for video production
Where'd
at the
you go?
time. St. Cloud.
Oh, didn't know that.
At that time, they didn't have a film program. They just had a film minor, so it became more of you had to focus on video production, journalism, which that's not what I was interested in. I wanted to make the creative side. So basically, I kind of say, yes, I did go to film school, but I'm more self-taught just by doing it, getting out there and making mistakes. That was the biggest thing is you do a production and realize, oh, that didn't turn out the way I wanted, but next time I'm going to try this, so.
I feel like and we had a film that I made screen last night at the festival, and you've had 5 screen at the festival, and anytime you're watching it with an audience, I think that for me anyway, you're looking at it like that's something I need to change before someone else sees it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the I encourage feedback on my own projects because nobody's going to be harder on it than I am. I mean, you could tell me downright it was not good, but please tell me why you thought it was not good. Just don't say it sucked. That's my worst thing about on online community is like, that movie sucked. Okay, tell me why you didn't like it, because not every movie is made for you. So, that's a big recognition. But I want to know, I want to improve. I had the experience of one of my first films got into a festival, and I thought it was really great. And then I'm sitting there in the audience, and I realized the sound is not mixed very well. And I just slunk down in my seat like, oh, man, I'm showing this to an actual audience at a South Dakota Film Festival. And it's like, wow, So I immediately got home and I fixed the audio. So for the next festival, it was good. So it's all learning mistakes like that. It is my film education.
It's a very visceral reality for any first time project not first time finishing, regardless of your experience level, because you're watching it in a room full of people that have never seen it before, and you've seen it 1,000 times in the editing room. It's been a roller coaster of emotions, and you've thought it's garbage, you've thought it's great, but you see it in a room full of people who are seeing it for the first time when you're just getting smaller and smaller in that seat. But you shipped it, so it's done, and you can move on. You can tweak it, but it's not something that you've been working on as a passion project for your whole life, and eventually you'll be a filmmaker. You're there now, and you have to just live with the consequences of that.
Right.
Yeah.
For me, it's like that. All of those hours almost like shed away during that moment. I think it might be the sweat actually that just like sheds it all off of me. But it's like it's all about like what people are, if they're whispering to themselves or if they're gasping or if what they're saying afterward. That sort of tends to overshadow like the hours and hours before that, which is kind of weird though. I don't like. It's like a very, as you said, visceral experience where it's you can't experience it unless you're actually there sitting in the seat.
Yeah, it's nerve-wracking, but it's exhilarating because one of the shorts, being in the horror genre, building suspense and getting your scares right is huge. So there was one short which I had seen editing millions of times, and then to actually preview in front of an audience and to actually elicit a scream out of somebody, that was like a huge rush of adrenaline. I was just like, oh my God, I got somebody.
And our festival takes place at a drive-in, and you don't get that traditional audience feedback, like in that, oh crap, like no one's laughing or the jump scare. But you do get opportunities where you get laughter or shock that's spreading out over a vacant lot. Not vacant like people aren't there, but you're wide open spaces. Like,
Little bit.
People did come.
There's evidence. You just showed.
Yeah, but I mean, it's wide open spaces. Like you're not in a confined room, and you can hear it carry further. So it's a different sound, but you get a different reaction that's not anticipated when you're in a traditional theater room. But I mean, Dom and I stood in the back and watched the one that I made last year, and we're both standing there like, that needs to change. That needs to change. All right, moving on.
Well, what's great about the driving experience, you don't get that immediately feedback, but you also have people. A lot of people have their windows open or their stereos cranked up, so you could tell if the movie's not hitting because you hear a lot of side conversations or people just not caring. But then if you know you've got them, it's like it's quiet and they're just engaged.
Right.
So it is a different experience than in the theater, but it's a fun experience.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. You guys are serving a really good role. I don't know of any other drive-in festival in the region that I can think of. Maybe there are, but I haven't gone to them.
I can actually tell you that there are not.
There are not
Anywhere.
That's what is so cool
In the
though.
world.
That's why we're here though. You guys are serving another purpose. Like you guys are growing that, and you're laughing to yourselves.
No, I mean,
I'm worried that we're going to get, like, of the, 17 people that are watching this, I'm worried that people are going to be like, I have a drive-in movie festival, and
Yeah.
I'm 6 miles away from you.
that's true. Okay, so our
you
our
run
operations
one.
director is reminding me that I have no actual proof other than Google searches. But I'm going to stand by it. And if you're mad at it and you have a drive-in festival that you have and feel like you're not being appreciated, for God's sake, reach out to us and let's
Support each other.
collaborate. We don't necessarily want to be the only ones. We are open to collaboration. But right now, as far as we can find, we are the only drive-in film festival in the world. And we're hoping that the locals appreciate it. So, and non-locals. Like, we've had people fly in from New York and drive from Chicago. We have half of our audience today is from not even remotely close to where we are. And they drove in to just share their time and contribute their talents, which is, like, thank you is just not enough. So that's how festivals are made. And that's why filmmakers are able to screen their work, which is really cool. Do we have any questions from the audience while we're in this segue?
Audience, no, but we had one up from Instagram saying, what's your favorite project?
So the question from Instagram that we've screened to date, the question from Instagram is, what's our favorite project that we've screened to date? Or from this weekend?
Sure. Do that first one.
That we've screened to date. I mean, Dom, you've been to every year.
Yes.
Do you have one that sticks out?
There is one that sticks out, but I probably shouldn't say because...
No, we want to know.
Okay. It was the ejaculating penis.
Yeah, we
Literally sticks out.
So another festival alum is AJ Cousins. So When Cicera Stirs is the film that you're talking about.
Yes.
And he birthed an alien from a urethra. I mean, that certainly, that one does stick with you. Yeah.
No, I think it was the claymation one. Because... And I think the way, I forget exactly what
Yeah.
it was a little, and not to throw you guys under the bus, a little weird programming because you had that one and then you had, I want to say, was it my dramatic short following that, which is nowhere.
You didn't want to follow that?
It was a really bizarre choice, but hey, I remembered it. You know, I'm sure a lot of people remembered it. So
Yeah. I mean, do you have any that you've seen programmed that you're like, hey, this is something different?
So, all right. To be honest, that also came to mind. So there are some other. I was just earlier today watching a video on Vimeo because Anthony, who's also a filmmaker in the region, I was watching some of his work because
We screened Blade Battle to Squirt Reynolds last night.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I was bartending last night, and so I wasn't actually able.
But I
to,
mean,
to
I just
make
wanted
it.
to follow up. Like his movie, he not just an alumni, but he had a movie play last night.
I wish that, and I wish that I was able to be there to watch it. I did watch it. I just ended up having to watch it online, and that did stick out to me. That's been in my mind like all morning. So I think it's
Yes.
really funny that we were both thinking about that. It was really impactful. That sort of exploding phallus, I guess. I don't know. It really stuck in my mind. I don't know what was about it.
Nothing like at the end of that film, like a lot of people die. So
Yeah.
it's just something that kind of lingers with you.
Overall,
yeah.
beautiful though. Production
Oh,
design.
everything they do is
wise,
fantastic,
I mean,
yeah.
amazing production design.
He's got a great style, and he knows how to work within that style, which I think is great. And his films are what I call the squishy horror films. You know, nothing wrong. I think they're awesome. You know, I think he does a fantastic job. So
We've had an opportunity to screen a lot of films that I'm really happy to have had. Like last year, we had The Driver is Red, which I loved. And we've had Killer. I think this year the one that we'll be talking about down the road is The Procedure 2.
yes,
That one, everyone should see that film. It's 3 minutes. Everyone should see every film on our lineup. And I want to be clear about that. But you should start with The Procedure 2. Watch that one. And I don't know how to summarize it in a way that
just go in totally cold.
you
and
got to watch
just-
it cold. Like, for me to summarize it would be doing you an injustice.
Yes.
And then it's kind of like, farting in a room that you smell. You don't want someone else to go in there and experience that too. And that'll make a lot more sense after you watch this
Yes.
movie. But I thought that was
I've
fantastic.
never done that before.
Yeah, you got. I mean, misery loves company, man. It's just part of storytelling. Any other questions from the audience? Yeah.
You guys talked about being taken seriously as local filmmakers is one challenge, but what are access to crew, collaborators, gear? Is it, I mean, financing obviously for everybody, for everything, but you know, is there anything in particular about the infrastructure for film in the state that you wish was more robust?
So let me repeat the question here, just to do it. What are the complications for being a local filmmaker here that you struggle with, and how can you get through that? I guess is a summary of that.
Do you want to go ahead?
Well, for the first thing I'm thinking of is positives, actually, because when you're like, what are all the complications? You're listing off like getting crew, getting gear, getting scheduling wise, and all of that. And the first thing that comes to mind is actually like the networking aspect of it. And it's actually there's a great community that we can work together with. And so the first thing, because there are so many challenges, I'm thinking, okay, what is the best thing about it? And I'm thinking it's definitely going to be like even just a Facebook page. Like there's just so many Facebook pages that it's like we can just reach out, and there are dozens of people that are like, yeah, I can help you out with that. Yes, yes, yes. And so otherwise, resource-wise, I mean, financing for me, like everything's just been out of my own pocket or other people's time. And what's come across to me is that even paying someone just a tiny little bit goes a really long way, actually, or just doing something to make it so that they feel like they're appreciated. They're still probably going to lose money because they might make more money doing something elsewhere. But when you're working on those sort of creative projects that aren't funded commercially wise, I mean, it's about making people feel appreciated. And so, because otherwise, that big list, all of them are very, very difficult. I can't even think of one that's like, this is the hardest thing, because it all just sort of comes together. That's a terribly generalized answer. What do you think, Dom?
Financing for me is a huge portion, because it's getting people to believe in your passion project. So it's getting them to give up their weekend or give up, some of their time. But focusing on the positives, I mean, the positives, I love that in Sioux Falls, you can get a location and people will just give it to you. I've shot, I took over a gas station. We took over the State Theater for a weekend. They basically gave us the keys and said, call us when you're done. Even going out to Mitchell, we shot in the costume shop out there. There again, she's like, here's the keys, call us when you're done. So I think that aspect is people are very willing to just donate time and effort for nothing. And as far as crew, there is a lot of good crew here. The only downfall of that is finding experienced crew that, you can basically just throw them the audio recorder and say, get me the best you can. Because there's not a lot of productions that happen here, so it's tough for people to build up their skills.
That's a really good way to put it, actually.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really good people.
Yes.
But having people know what to do right away without having to explain it
Right.
to them, it's hard because you have to do that all the time.
Right.
I do think that there's a great learning curve for failing fast locally, but that Midwest work ethic is still here.
It is.
And they're willing to give you sweat trade. But going back to what you said, it would be almost impossible to not do something else and make more money. So it's hard to convince people to give you time that way. But if we were in a different market, I don't think that we would have had the opportunities to collaborate that we've had so far. Like we have Snow Jam as a festival that's the same age as we are for a film festival. The SuperCon, same age. Like they're growing in this market, and also like the people who help us pull this festival off, from Whitewall Sessions making this possible, from Last Stop Studios making the festival possible, Cafea collaborating with us to bring this to life. These are all things that if we were in a bigger market, they would expect not a non-growth year. Every year we would have to deliver on specific numbers to make it worth their time, rather than grow a community to showcase what a film festival is and what it can become.
Right.
And that's what this area provides, not just for experience on set, but experience for meeting other filmmakers and getting stories out there.
Right. I do think, one of the things that I would like to see down the road is like some sort of classes or education or seminars, maybe that's a better word for it, of like this is how you grip on a set. You know, these are the terms. I recently had the privilege to work on a film down in New Mexico, and we had 3 PAs who came all the way from Michigan, never worked a day on their set ever. And a lot of the people there actually thought they had, so they were like throwing terms at them, like, go get, you know, this, go get that. And they're just like, what am I looking for? You know, so every day, the couple of us would sit down and say, you know, this is what we're looking for when we say the bounce board or the C-clamps, you know, just give them that education. I would like to see a little bit more of that here, you know, and I know I've briefly talked to Mike at the White Walls about how we can maybe do some of that, you know, just to give some people experience, to get them up to speed a little bit more.
Well, I think that there are, if you're curious about it, like there are, whether you're local here or not, or want to be termed local here or not, there are things that you can do to kind of get caught up on terminology. Like you can use Griptionary online to find out what things are. So if someone ever shouts to you, go get that scrim or grab me a stinger, you don't stare at the back of the truck and think,
What?
what? That's a word I've never heard before. But along with that, like if you have a project that you want to make, go make it. Like even if it turns out terribly, get it out of the way. And that's just part of the creative process. I don't think that, I mean, between all of us here, we probably got close to 80 titles that we put together. For myself, I don't think that I could watch a single one of them and think I have no changes. I'm happy.
No, every project I would rip apart and start over. You know, just recently finishing up a short that we shot a couple months ago. Well, I'm halfway through post-production. The first cut is always, you know, I was just talking to Andrew about this. First cut is always nerve-wracking because you realize you've put all this time and effort, you've been thinking about this project, and you look at it and it's like, wow, that's really not good. But it's in that editing stage, it's the massaging of it, getting it to work, and realizing that, you know, sound and music is a huge portion. And unfortunately, this short does have a lot of sound and music that it's dependent on, and that's not my strong point. So, you know, which brings a good point too. As a filmmaker, you should know where your weak points are and find people who can emphasize that. You know, thankfully, I've gotten to work with Chad Conrad as far as music, and he's not only an excellent musician, but he can hear stuff I can't. You know, so he's saying, you know, like, let's lower this frequency and raise that, and I'm just like, sure, I agree with you. You know, so I think it's letting go a little bit control and letting somebody else deal with that. Let them bring their expertise in.
Just let them do what they're good at.
Right.
I think that goes a long way, regardless of your role, whether you're the director, you're the producer, you're an actor,
Right.
you're the mixer. Like just collaboration rather than saying it's my way or I'm off the project.
Right.
Maybe don't try to work with teams if that's your outlook. You know, just get out of your own way, and the project will be better for it in the long run. But I mean, you work that amount of hours for that amount of days on any set, and you're going to run short on patience. But keeping the end goal of a good project in mind it's key to a lot of things.
But by the same token, I mean, it's like if you're a filmmaker who wants to know more about working on soundtracks, or if you want to get more involved into a specific aspect that a director normally wouldn't be as emphasizing, do that too. I mean, I'm always trying to be more involved in the music of my work because I love the way that it affects people, and I'm a musician, hobby musician myself. Used to want to be a rock star when I was 12. That was pretty much it. But I love the way music affects people, but I don't know as much about it as a lot of people do. And so I'm always looking to sort of push myself, and I want to encourage others who are interested in those aspects that they wouldn't normally be. Just learn about it and take those risks.
Well, that's absolutely right. And I mean, just reaching out to if you're curious or you're a fan of someone, reach out and see if you can collaborate. Like part of the festival creation was through a magazine called Nosebleeds Magazine. My siblings and I put together at the same time, and we talked to a lot of people about this type of thing. And like Craig Sutherland is a sound mixer who's done huge films now, and he started by going to a film, appreciating the director, reached out. And he said, "Hey, I think I can do this. I've never done it before. I'd like to know more about it." And he did his next feature. That was a huge international release. Now, that's not a common story.
No.
But if you reach out to people, the worst thing that's going to happen is they just ghost you.
Right.
Something could happen from that. So just communication is key.
Yeah, I think festivals are great for making that connection. That's how I got to work on the set of the 13 Fanboy, which is kind of for me, I'm a huge Friday the 13th fan, so how this project came together was it's kind of a spin-off of the Friday the 13th films, but not an official sequel. But I was at a festival with Deborah Voorhees, who was in part 5. We just hit it off. Not even about film, just about life in general. And at the end of the festival, I says, hey, if you ever need help, like I do with all filmmakers, if you ever need help, just let me know. I'm more than willing. A couple months later, she called me up and she's like, were you serious? I'm like, well, yeah. I'm like, I know she's in New Mexico, I'm in South Dakota. And she's like, well, how would you like to come down for a weekend and help with the trailer I'm putting together? Absolutely. So I went down there and I helped, and then it slowly evolved into a feature, So I was down there for 3 weeks in July, and I'll have to go back to finish the film. But, that it just came about just by conversation at a festival, just saying, hey, we're both here representing our films, and just chatting. So
Some of my favorite memories and the contacts that I cling to as inspiration in film right now are developed from being a production assistant. I mean, it's a dirty, no one wants to do that job, but you meet some great people doing it. I mean, you're at the bottom and you're treated like it, but at the same time, you're growing with these other people creatively.
Right.
And, who knows what you're going to do down the road.
Well,
in
and
the
all
field
those
or out of it.
PAs have ambitions. They all have projects to work on. So it's kind of like getting to know them. Let's say is with 13 Fanboy. I mean, I've already, there's a bunch of projects that I'm hoping to work on with other people, So just making those connections and growing. And that's what's great about indie film is you can be on set and you don't have any limitations. I mean, you could help direct or you could help with special effects. I think when you get in unions, it's a little different. Then it becomes, nope, I'm not touching that cord because that's your department.
Yep. You literally can't do someone else's job.
Right.
But independent film, like we run into that working together all the time. Like, I'll just go do that. It's going to be easier
Right.
than finding somebody who knows what it is. I'll just go take care of that myself, and vice versa all the time. And it's great to just get down in the trenches and be willing to work on projects that way.
Right. The lines become less defined. It's like, yeah, I'll help you boom, or I'll help set up lights. I mean, working with a small crew on the short we just did with Black Eyed Girl, this is probably the first time I actually had a person dedicated to audio, and he was also our lighting technician at the same time, so it's kind of like, usually I'm always like setting up the lights or running boom and directing, and it's kind of like just nice to have starting getting more people involved who just, well, that's their focus, so now I can focus on just doing this. So
It's nice to not have your name in the credits 12 times.
well, or the aliases I use.
Yeah, yeah.
Wait, you do? Are you
Oh,
serious?
yeah.
It's like working
I
in a
should
habit.
try that.
Yeah.
Well, because I look at it as I want to be known as a writer-director. I don't want someone to look, because the feature I'd done, Death Rod, I'd worked on some of the special effects.
Right.
I'm like, I don't want to do special effects, so I don't want somebody to look at and be like, oh, he knows special effects, I'm going to hire him, because I can't. I did it
Right.
passively, so I just used an alias because I'm like, that's not my area.
That's a great
So.
idea. I didn't know that about you.
Yeah.
I'm going to start doing that.
You have more than one name that didn't get paid from that project.
Plus, then it looks like you had a bigger crew.
Right.
That's true.
Right.
Do we have any other audience questions before we keep moving on?
You kind of mentioned risks a little bit, Daniel.
Mm.
Starting off, what were some of the biggest risks maybe that both of you took moving into a
So the question is, what are some risks that you've had to take and deal with as a filmmaker?
Well, first, just like sharing a script with someone, like
Mhm.
that's like, I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but like, really, it's just taking that little piece of you that said, okay, for some reason, I decided to document this. Now, is someone else going to tear it apart? And there's a part of you that like asks people to do that too, and it's hard to ask people to do that. And so I would say the first one is just in general, because when the stories I like to tell and that I'm interested in, it's oftentimes characters that are nothing like me, but they're demographics that exist that I want to empathize with, and that I think other people can too. And so I sort of just want to build bridges, I guess, with the stories that I tell. And so with that comes a lot of risk, because you might be writing from a voice that is not your own and that you have a responsibility for. And you're sort of like I would be taking on that responsibility myself. No one's like giving me permission necessarily first. I'm like, oh, I want to do this. Now I have to prove that I'm allowed to do this, I guess. And so that's another thing that's even specifically about like documentary work. It's like, where does who gives you the authority to tell this story? I mean, when you're just talking about such sort of high things that just are such a big deal in society, that you can really screw up if you don't tell it right. And so that's sort of the responsibility of it, both fiction and nonfiction, everywhere in between. If you're not telling the story of your own life, you're definitely taking a risk. And I tend to gravitate toward characters that just demographics, whether it's females or people who are a different race than me, or stuff like that, where it's like it takes a lot of research and responsibility beforehand to tell that story, because it's not about what's inside of me. It's sort of my creation. I love writing dialogue from someone else's voice, and that it takes a lot more work than writing it from your own voice, but that's what I love to do. And so that's sort of what scares me too, though. It's just like, am I allowed to write this? And like, unless someone's saying you can't, or this is hurting me, if then you can, and then if you share that, it'll get better. If you're willing, if you're open to it, I guess. And so it's really easy to be closed off to it, because then it's scared if someone says, this actually is not at all the way it actually is for me. You have to be willing and open to changing that, I guess. And it's really scary, because then you're like, I just put all this work in, I thought it was really good, but actually, nope, it needs to be completely different, and I don't know anything. So that's, I guess, where my anxiety comes from. It, more so than financial stuff or anything else, you can pay off credit cards, but it's like the actual heart of whatever you're trying to say. And so that's what I'm into, and that's what I'm afraid of, I guess.
And it's hard. I totally relate, because the first time you show somebody a script, because it's been with you for so long, and my thing is like, I don't want them to judge that they think this is me. This is a story I created. I mean, working in the horror genre, I mean, I'm not a serial killer. I don't have any interest in that. I mean, to me, I love horror movies because it's the magic trick. But like when it comes to real surgery, I cannot watch it. It's just grosses me out, because that's real. That's like a human body with their heart open, and it's like, no. So I can't do that. But, I think, anytime you venture down a creative road, you're taking risks, and it becomes, you have to have like a thicker skin as you go, just because you just got to brush off. Like, I look at, the first feature I had done, it's not, in my opinion, I don't think it's the best representation of what I can do. I've been told I trash it too much, but it's because...
By me.
Yeah, I know. So I'm trying to be PC about it. But I look at it as, yes, it's not great, but you know what? I got off my ass and I did something, which is... It's rare for a film to actually get completed, whether it be a short or a feature or anything. Everybody's got this ambition. They want to write a script. They want to shoot a movie. But to actually do it is a huge accomplishment. So you got to be at least proud of that, and all the people that online were ripping it down, not a single one of them have ever made a film. So they don't know what goes into it. And it helped me appreciate films. I don't dismiss them as much as I used to, because after going through the process, you realize nobody sets out to make a bad film. Mm-hmm. They all have the best intentions. But there's so many things along the road that will go wrong. Can and will go wrong. Either your actor didn't show up, or they were having a bad day, or your prop didn't show up, or just suddenly your location fell through, So it's a massive undertaking, and I don't think people appreciate that or understand that. So,
Well, and don't wait for somebody more qualified to come along and tell
Right.
your story for you.
Right.
Don't expect that to happen. But
No.
like we all respect, whether it's directors or producers or actors or whatever element of the production that you respect the most, if you look at those people that are doing it well, they were probably more creative when they were hungry. Like there are elements to any creative outlet where you're like, I still need to eat. But when you're doing it for no money, you have to find ways to accomplish it anyway. And when somebody gives you a bunch of money, usually the creativity suffers a little bit because of that, in some way or another.
Right.
But there are pros and cons to both sides of that, I guess.
For me, it's hard for me to personally speak from that because no one's ever thrown me a bunch.
No one's ever given you a box of money?
Maybe commercially, a little bit of money, but creatively, that it's not affiliated with a business. No one's ever thrown me a bunch of money yet. That's
I'm
what
not
I'm
sure
looking
how
at.
you made it on this panel if no one's given you a box of money. Clearly, something went
Here's a
wrong.
box of millions.
Yeah.
At the indie level, it's a lot of, beg, borrow, and steal. I mean, working with the DP that I do, I do a lot of trades, and we're both understanding neither of us is getting paid. If he needs to borrow the equipment, he takes it, that type of thing. So I think it's finding that. I mean, I've done music videos for nothing just as a payback. I've done random promotional things, just because I'm appreciative of what everybody gives me, so I want, them to at least get something out of it,
Absolutely. Just appreciating the talents you're getting. And
Right.
then sweat equity does go a long way. Like
Right.
just trading time. And if you're talented at one thing, share that with other people so you can get their talents shared back towards you.
Right.
And something that my sister, the ops director, has been kind of sharing with as many people as she can is if you have friends who are making shirt lines or you have, creatives in your life that are doing other things and doing crowdfunding or needing help, give them a hand. Like if you don't have to wait for a box of money, give them $5, give them a hand up and help them grow so that in turn you can have some people do the same for you. I think that's how Dom and I think have gotten as many titles that no one else has seen
Right.
that was we have. Is just by trading a lot of time.
And I think it boils down to even just social media. If there's nothing you can do, just share somebody's project or give it a like. It to me, it's great. I just had the short Mr. Pointy that was released last year at this point.
That was a lot of fun, by the way. I
Thank
enjoyed
you.
that.
And I just had someone who I worked with down on 13 Fanboy, who I really admire her work, and I know she's a professor at UCLA, and she reached out. I'm not sure how she saw it, but she reached out and says, "Hey, I really enjoyed that excellent work." I mean, that totally made my day. It meant a lot. So it's just little things like that you can do just to make somebody, a creative person, feel more validated.
Yeah, I mean, supporting them doesn't always mean buying a ticket.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So that's a big deal. Any other questions? Yeah.
Well, one thing I've noticed in indie film is similar to finance is everything that goes on in personal finance or big finance goes on in big finance, high finance, high finance, small finance. The same exact topics arise. Same thing in movies. The same problems they have as an indie movie maker. The big guys have too. The big budget guys have too. I was watching La Ventura by Michelangelo Antonioni a couple nights ago. And those guys ran out of money. The studio fell through. They were stranded on an island. They had to sleep on using just canvas bags as covers on an island for about 3 days until a box of money came from Rome.
Yeah.
To finish the movie. The same thing. A bunch of friends I've got arrested one time making a film in Minneapolis. I think some of them around that film. What was it? Facebook PD or something like that.
Facebook Police Department. Yeah.
Yeah, some of those guys were on that film. So, the same things, the same problems you have, beg, borrow, and steal. That's what the guys making the big films have to do the same, have to do the same exact thing.
Yeah, you don't have a stockpile of cash certainly waiting around, but I mean, the more money you have, the more money you got to spend to make sure that you deliver on it.
Well,
More money, more problems.
Yeah, and I've noticed too that working on a set where they had a little bit of financing, you still have the same problems. You still have the personality conflicts. You still have, people that think they have more experience than everybody else, and you just have people that don't show up. Even though they may be getting paid, they're just like, I don't care. So it is a lot of the same issues, just on a little bit bigger scale.
I disagree with one thing though. I would not, unless to pay everybody. I found it's maybe a bad it's a bad policy to pay anybody. Because we had some pro actors working for us for free on one thing. We had like 3 or 4 of them. I'm not saying they're household names in the United States, but household names they're names in Minneapolis anyway. Let's put it that way, and not internationally. But they were good actors, and they were on set doing it free. And then we had to bring on this person to do a bikini shoot. So we paid her $100, which wasn't much. I mean, it's not much for a shoot like this, but the pros immediately got out to everybody. The pros didn't mind. The three pros I had in said, yeah, that's if I look good in a bikini, I'd do it too. The guy was saying, but they were, the girl's nice girl. I'm not really complaining about her. I didn't tell her don't tell anyone, we're not getting paid or anything. But immediately she went around asking everybody what they were getting paid. No one's getting paid. Especially the 3 pros who really deserved to be paid because they were good. But my policy is from now on, you can't pay anybody. Either pay everybody, something, which a couple guys I know are doing right now in Minneapolis. But pay everybody or don't pay anybody. That's not my
Sure.
policy.
Right.
If you're not paying someone, they have to be a really good friend. That's the thing. That's why we're emphasizing this whole networking aspect, which honestly I feel like I suck at. I need to be so much better at it. But it's just like basically if you're going to pay someone, you have to make sure that they understand what the expectations are, and you might develop a relationship further. But if you're not going to, if they walk out and they're not your friend, you can't really be mad at them. You can just say, oh, people suck. But the reason, like on all of my previous projects, I pretty much, most people haven't been paid, and then the people I really, really need, say like actors who had to go across state lines and whatnot, they'll get like a stipend basically for a short film and whatnot. But that's a lot of times it's just because maybe I've never even met them, and I've auditioned them through another online service. I met them through any kind of website. And so it's like you need to make sure that you say, yes, I value your time. And if someone is, I've had my best friends then working on sets with me, and it's like, yeah, they'll come and they'll do that for me because we love each other. But it's like you need to have some kind of way to say, yes, your time is valued, I guess. And so if you don't have the deal set in place that's sort of more barter, I guess, I tend to see that people care more when they feel like they're cared for. And
it comes down to just being a good person. I mean, know everybody's name on set and treat them like a person, And I that's one thing I like about Indie is everybody pitches in, You
have to.
Because it shows that nobody is above anybody else. I mean, it's same thing if the grip has an idea. It's like, okay, let's shoot it the way I thought, and then we'll try it your way too, because then it makes them feel just as involved. Let's say is not being married to your idea and be like, no, we have to do it my way, because I may not always have the best vision. I've been working with this story enough, and that's why I like working with a DP who can give me different options. Yeah, even like, the sound guy threw out, hey, how about you try this angle? I'm like, I didn't even think about that. Let's try that, So it's all collaborative effort.
We have an opportunity, I guess. I'm going to open it up to the audience one more time, but we have some people in the audience who have insane experience festival-wise. Were there any things that you guys found with this festival that are different than other festivals, or that just festivals in general you wanted to bring to the audience's attention for anything at all?
I mean, we do take place at a drive-in, which is unique in my festival experience.
Our ops director, my sister, is reminding you that our festival does take place at a drive-in, and it's the only one. It's the only drive-in film festival.
It's also not vacant.
Yeah, it's not vacant. There were people, as you saw in the video, they were not, superimposed. It was fine.
That's true.
Yeah.
They were real and fully fleshed out. Also, we have very unique filmmaker badges. I would really like to highlight those. So if we can zoom in.
Oh, yeah, give me 1 second.
Oh, you don't have to zoom in. Actual camera equipment does not have to zoom in.
But as far as just housekeeping notes, we'll thank our sponsors. But was there anything that you guys wanted to say in closing as filmmakers?
What projects you have coming up?
Yeah,
I know
what
both
projects you
of
have coming up, and
We have a question back
Okay, yeah.
This may be the button. Have you yet had a career validation moment that time alone in the edit suite, an audience reaction that Dom referred to, that said, yes, I've chosen wisely?
For the project, or
Just as a
for-
filmmaker.
like I've
Yeah.
chosen wisely.
Life affirming.
I'm doing the right thing.
I think a lot of it is personal gratification too, though. I know it sounds selfish, but it's like when you have a vision to begin with and to be able to sort of realize that, it's like an intrinsic thing, actually. And to be able to share that with an audience, you always have to keep the audience in mind, but if you're in the editing room, you sort of you are that audience. That's why I always have all the lights off and everything. And it's just like I need to see it first as an audience member, and so it really just comes down to having an idea and realizing the idea, and that's why the disappointment comes from, because it's like if it doesn't turn out that way, that is the biggest frustration, where it's just like that sucks. And so but that's why we're always trying to make new projects. And so I know that's a really vague answer to your question, but it really is sort of an intrinsic thing, where it's like when the project is done, whether or not someone has seen it, if it's done and it looks the way at least even remotely the way I imagine it to be, I'm feeling really good about it. And so it really does have to be, especially as if you're going to be writing and whatnot, it has to be an internal thing first. You have to know, yes, this is good. Otherwise, people are going to say so many, like you were talking about online, people are just going to say so many things that don't even make sense, maybe. But you just have to bring it back to, like, why am I even doing this? And so it's not, I think that everyone should make films, at least try to make a film, even if you don't like know anything about it or really care. Just try it just to see how hard it is. And then it'll kind of make you understand maybe why other people are so obsessed with it, I guess.
Yeah, be obsessed with it. Also, from my own experience, and again, to thank the people who helped in every aspect of this festival, it is a lot harder for me to be a part of putting the festival on than it is for me to be part of making a film.
Oh, yeah.
So if you have a project that's screening somewhere, for God's sake, go thank the people who made that happen.
Right.
Because it's a struggle to make a film, regardless of length, but to put a festival on when you're borrowing, and steal on time and favors, like, that's crazy.
I wouldn't be able to do what you guys do. Put on a festival? Oh my God, that sounds like logistically a nightmare.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
It sounds awful.
Yeah.
So yeah, you guys are amazing. So, really, like, actually, it sounds terrible. I would hope, like, when I'm decades older, maybe to run a festival.
Our
like,
age.
or like, yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Shut up. I'm 47 and a half months old. So
I believe it.
yeah, it is really a great thing that you guys are doing to even put
Yes,
this
thank
on.
you.
So thank you.
You said about projects we got coming up, I just want to say it sounds like we're ripping on filmmaking and bringing all the downfalls, but it is a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's very collaborative. I like working with different people, getting different ideas. Being on set is grueling when you're doing 12 to 14-hour days, but it's rewarding. I feel like I've accomplished something afterwards. So for me, if I could do it full time, I would. I don't think my body could handle it, but you kind of deal with it. So that's it. I just wanted to say that it sounds like we're doing a lot of negatives, but we
just complain a lot.
Yeah.
That's the only conversation I can have. Like, it
Right.
overlaps with filmmaking, but really it boils down to I can complain.
Right.
Right.
We can commiserate.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. That's the point of film festivals, right? Commiseration.
Yeah.
Telling your horror war stories. You know,
Yeah.
so.
That's what I think a lot of stories are, especially comedy. And it's just, how can we commiserate about something and that together, I guess.
Well, and if you put that much time in, and lack of sleep and stress in a crucible situation on set, I think that's why it's something we keep coming back to, is like they become fast friends. And you
Right.
just, even if you don't work with them again for years, you pick up right where you left off, and that's just a great way to commune with people.
Exactly.
So with that, I want to make sure that I thank Last Stop CD Shop, Last Stop Studios, the White Wall Sessions here where we are, Fernson for sponsoring the the filmmaker panel here, and Noche and Cafea. Yeah, thank you. And the Vern Drive-In for having the venue that allows us to take gambles like this festival. But thank you to all of our sponsors. Thank you to our staff.
But we do want to know what you have coming up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Well, so the film that I wanted to have screen at this festival, it's in the sound portion. It's sort of a more complex sound design that I've ever sort of taken on before. But it's called Men's Room. It's about the awkward moments that happen at urinals. And basically...
I had one, but
You had one recently?
Well, no, it wasn't me. I was witnessing. I walked in at work one day, and somebody was at the urinal, and another person walked in and said, "Good flow, buddy."
Oh my God! Perfect. Mine.
go-
This film is. I meant to. It's no dialogue at all. That was my main goal with it, and also the whole soundtrack is all just bathroom sounds, mix of so many different sounds in the bathroom, and so basically it's all shot from one camera angle. And so my challenge to myself was, how can I sort of edit before I go into the editing room? How can I do it sort of in camera? And that's what I wanted to have at this festival, but I've just, scheduling-wise, we've been doing other productions that are kind of pushed ahead of that one, and so I haven't gotten it into this one yet. But that's what's going on now, and I've got some other scripts and whatnot, but that's like the next one that hopefully will be done soon.
Nice. I like that you're challenging yourself, because I do the same thing with shorts. It's always like, what can I do in this one that I haven't done before? So, I also have it's called Black Eyed Girl. I have it in, probably going to the sound editing portion here soon. So I missed the deadline for that. Didn't want to show a rough cut because I think I don't like showing things before they're done.
Mm-hmm. I also have that, because
Yeah.
I have things that's like I could do maybe a rough cut, or like I have one that's really been in the visual effects stage. It's just taken, literally we shot it like 2.5 years ago, and we just haven't had the time to get that done. And it's like, do I want to show
Right.
it halfway done or not?
I think you spoil your audience on that. So.
Yeah.
Hoping to have Black Eyed Girl done by hopefully by Halloween. So we'll either hit the festival circuit or see what we can do. We also have, we're doing a comedy series, a pilot for Last Stop, the store here. They're kind of giving us free reign to do what we want, which is kind of awesome. So we're kind of doing a Clerks, Empire Records, high fidelity type of thing. So we are casting for that. Hopefully be shooting in the next couple months. And then a little bit further down the road, I have finally venturing back into the feature realm. I have a feature I want to work on. But other than that, I'm always writing. When I drove down to New Mexico, I had a nice 17-hour road trip, and I had plenty of thinking time. So
I love that. That's
Yes.
one of my best ideas come from, is just literally taking a midnight highway drive for hours. So
Yeah.
highly recommend it if you're looking for ideas. Just to go take a really long drive at night.
Zeke, what do you have coming up?
For what I have coming up next, what Dom talked about, I'm working on those. I have a short coming up October 5th in Minneapolis with Carlos Omar de Leon. Laurie Brewster out of Hex Media Studios out of Scotland. Hopefully I have my name on his work forever. And the October 5th is the next project in there. I recently wrote down a list of titles that are in production, pre-production wise, and it's terrifying. So right now I'm just focusing on the next one, and we'll go from there. But I'm looking forward to working with Dom on the Last Stop series, the feature, and Black Eyed Girl is just a lot of fun. I can't wait to see the final product.
yeah, those overnight shoots are always so much fun.
Convincing people to do them too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, thank you so much to all of our sponsors, all of our
Yes, thank
volunteers, all of our filmmakers, anybody who played any role in this. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. Anybody who came, yes, please thank you for coming. Please come again. Please be loyal fans, and please be filmmakers. If you have a project you're working on, or as a passion project, documentary, narrative, submit it. Please submit. We want to see what you're working on.
Season 5 or
Year 5?
yeah, year 5.
Year 5. Yeah, season 5 of the Dancing Spider Film Festival. Yeah, we're working on. We're going to take a couple days and recoup. But yeah, season 5 of the Dancing Spider Film Festival. We will be working on getting that in order, and submissions typically open in February. So keep that on your calendar. So thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
White Wall.
you.
Thank you, Last Stop. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, Bernson, Cafea, you guys rock. Noche. We're good.